What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down what's going on with the big earnings that just came out, to talk about the economic calendar, what pieces of news are affecting the market for now, as I give you guys my price prediction for what I think is going to pan out. But before I break into all this information, before I talk about what's going on with Tesla, SPY, and all these tickers, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's happening to the market. In my video yesterday, I said SPY has a Wyckoff accumulation-like structure most likely forming, and we should see SPY reach around 496 a share, and that's actually where SPY is right now. It's very close to that. We also are seeing Tesla approaching 190 exactly as predicted, not to mention the market pumping. This is what we were talking about. Also, I said Apple would reach 190. That is where it is right now. So a lot of what I said ended up coming true. I'm not going to just proclaim myself as someone that's always right. I do make mistakes. I'm a human. But from my video, I said a pump is likely coming, and that's what we're seeing right now. Now I want to break down some very important levels to watch for on SPY in terms of resistance. Can SPY continue to break out? And I'm going to go over some very important pieces of news. So I firstly just want to mention that we just had Alibaba's earnings alongside Uber, and later on today we have some big earnings. We have PayPal and Disney. We'll have to see how this affects the markets. But as far as Alibaba goes, Alibaba basically actually ended up dropping. It did miss on revenue, but they announced a $25 billion boost to buy back shares. That's actually a very, very good announcement by them. Not the worst of things. But looking at their data, the fact that they missed on revenue is a little bit negative for them. Guidance is kind of like decent, not the strongest of guidance, not too bad, kind of just like so. So overall, I would say that the earnings was not the best, a little mixed. Some things were not so great, but the buyback is still very good. So that's actually helping them to some extent. So I would say it's like mixed and not that great. For other factors affecting the markets, I just want to call out that the exports and imports data has come out. We have imports at $320.4 billion, and that's once again for the month of December, with exports for the US reaching $258 billion. The deficit is at a difference of $62.2 billion. Since this news came out, the market's been pumping. It's basically the same as what we got last time, very similar, if anything. And the market is still like fine with this. It's very content. It's still pushing. So what's going on later on today? We basically have Kugler, Collins, Barkin, and Bowman giving speeches from the Fed between 11 a.m. today and 2 p.m. So please be very, very careful during this time. That's in Eastern Standard Time, by the way. I do want to note that I went over this yesterday, so I'm not going to show you guys the charts today, but there's a chart that shows you how hawkish and how dovish the Fed speakers are. Kugler, Collins, and even Barkin tend to be kind of in the middle, so they're not too hawkish typically, not too dovish, so it shouldn't affect the market too much. But be careful at 2 p.m. today, Eastern Standard Time, because Bowman is known for being very hawkish. So Bowman could say things that slow the market down later at the end of the day, so just be very careful. For news affecting the markets, there's a lot of talk right now about potential rate cuts. Yes, we know the Fed is going to cut rates eventually, just the timing is a little bit tricky to determine, and we're going to have to wait and see how long it takes and what pieces of data affect that. On top of this, Disney has its big earnings. Disney also announced a joint sports streaming platform launch that could be happening with a partnership between Fox and Warner Bros., which is good news for them. So hopefully, if this ends up being the case, this is going to be big for Disney. We'll see how that goes for them. There's also some news that came out that the preliminary National Transportation Safety Board released a Tuesday offer. More details about what's going on with the Boeing 737 MAX 9 plane during the Alaskan Airlines flight, some issues that were going on. And they're saying that bolts appear to have been missing the parts that flew off the plane, which is something very big. This is very important for Boeing, so we'll see how this affects them. It's very important for safety and etc. Credit card debt has become a bigger issue as consumers face higher interest rates. Delinquencies have spiked more than 50% in the last year, and the Federal Reserve actually said this on Tuesday. And the overall debt was about 17.5 billion, so it's still continuing to rise. That's a big issue in the U.S., and this was actually reported yesterday. Besides that, that's pretty much it for now. There's nothing else that's too crazy affecting the market in terms of news. So just get ready later on for the day for the Fed speakers, and especially the last one at 2 p.m. could slow things down. Just be careful at the moment. I'm not saying it will. It just depends on what they say. So that's a little tricky. So what am I seeing on SPY? Let's go over this. How is SPY looking? SPY to me, it's looking bullish. It's trying to push. The chart is clearly going to be hitting, in my opinion, very close to 496. But this is where things become tricky to predict because we're going to be approaching new all-time highs. I think this looks like it's going to test all-time highs, if not break them. So watch 496 as resistance. If SPY breaks this, our next target is 497. If we reject, we could come right back down to 494. So be a little bit careful. This could even form kind of like a cup and handle where it comes up to here, it kind of gets a little rejection, but then it continues to push. So be careful at 496. We reached my price target already, essentially. So just be careful, guys. There's going to be resistance up here. We'll just have to see how SPY reacts. The reason why I'm being a little bit less certain is because we're hitting new all-time highs. We're approaching them, and we haven't hit 497 ever before. So just be careful. I think it's going to push more and try to hit this resistance at 496. It could reject and form like a cup and handle and then start pushing up higher. But just to be safe, make sure you watch your levels. We have critical support at 494 now. If we lose that, we could return to about 493.5. And then we have resistance at 496. If we break this, 497 is coming. The chart looks bullish, so it's going to try to test that. We'll see if we form kind of like a cup and handle here and how it reacts to 496. But ultimately, I think SPY could, if we do end up breaking the high, we could eventually make our way closer to either 497, if not 499 in the future. So that's going to be a big possibility going all the way up to 499 if we continue to break out. So keep that in the back of your mind. But for now, let's watch the reaction at 496. That's going to be pivotal for this moment. How about for Tesla? Tesla's looking bullish. I said in my previous video that it looks like we have a potential breakout on our hands. Look for a little back test and a bounce. Well, it did get the back test yesterday. It came down, back down to 184, very close to where this trend line was. And then we got the back test. It didn't touch it, but it came very close to doing so. This is where they grabbed liquidity and they launched it right back up. And it hit this resistance to a T. That's basically 190.5. So now I expect Tesla to kind of shuffle a little bit between 190 and 188, but it's still looking pretty good. We have a nice option projected that could be forming. This could even develop into like an inverse head and shoulders where Tesla kind of retraces just a little bit back down to like 188. If we lose 188, watch 186 and 184, but it could retrace just a little bit and then start trying to push up higher to these higher levels. So I think what could end up happening is Tesla might actually just try to continue pushing anyways, might not even form an inverse head and shoulders yet, and it might try to get above 190.5, could even break that into the like low 190s, if not getting to the mid ones, before it just starts to consolidate in this range. So I find that to be more probable. So watch and see how we react to 190.5. Do we get an initial rejection back down to 188, kind of consolidate and then bounce, or do we just break it immediately, which I think is a real possibility? We could break this resistance and just start shuffling in this upper range. That's a real possibility right here. So make sure you watch these levels. Know that Tesla is favoring the bulls, and this is the move we projected yesterday. I said Tesla should be hitting 190 soon. That's what ended up happening. So far, so good. How about on the QQQ? QQQ is testing all-time highs again. It's actually looking pretty good, but we're testing this yellow trend line of resistance. This was previous support becoming resistance. So we're going to be watching to see how it reacts to 430. Do we reject here and return to 429? If we lose 429, 427.25 is coming next. Or do we break above the yellow trend line? Do we try to make our way back above 430? If we break 430, 432 is coming next. So in my opinion, the QQQ is looking strong, but it's going to fight this resistance. And I'm not going to like turn too bullish. I need to see how it reacts to this resistance first. Do we reject off the yellow trend line? We're just testing it right now. Or do we break past it? Because the issue with the QQQ is 430 is very tight. We tested this like 3-4 times and rejected so far. So we'll see if the QQQ could get the steam necessary to break 430. It's a very tough resistance. If we break it, watch 432, then 434 above that. As of right now, it's favoring the bulls. It looks like it's going to test 430 and fight. I'm hoping it tries to break this, so watch and see if we get that break, and it's going to turn bullish. If not, watch the support levels I just called out. I think it's going to try to break out, but just to be safe, we have to watch it in real time, right? We have to watch it just to be safe. Nvidia, I mentioned to you all, Nvidia should try to bounce off the 666 area. It is starting to respect a slight uptrend. Could be forming a flag, though, so be careful for the future. It could uptrend slowly towards 687 and eventually 692 or so. It could be making its way back to the 690s. So it is on a slight uptrend. Might slowly uptrend a little bit more. And then we're going to be watching to see it kind of consolidate in this, in this range. Excuse me. 700 has very tight resistance, so be careful at that level. I could see this kind of uptrend a bit and consolidate, so watch that very carefully. Watch support at 680, 675, and 670 flat. That's where we have this yellow trend line. This is uptrending just slightly. Could go a little higher though, but be careful for a potential flag that's forming. Nvidia is still going to likely uptrend just temporarily for now. And then last but not least, Apple stock. What happened to Apple, guys? We said there's an inverse head and shoulders. How many times have I said this? I've been saying this for the past 6 days. Inverse head and shoulders like setup. Apple looks bullish. Expect 190. If we keep breaking out, because we're getting above 190.5, this does have potential to go up to about 192, so it could push the market higher. This looks bullish, so watch resistance. We also have some resistance at this previous zone right over here. This is 191, so watch 191. If we break down, 192 is next. But 192 is tougher resistance than 191. Watch support at 190.5 and then 189. This looks bullish though, nonetheless. So that being said, that is it for the video. The market is still looking bullish, as predicted. We talked about this yesterday. And we'll just see how things go from here. So watch resistance levels. Know that SPY has a big test coming. And with that being said, I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you and peace out.